I will introduce myself briefly, and then let's dive into today's webinar, which is Dutch Essentials, a Survival Guide for Newcomers. So my name is Jennifer. I arrived in the Netherlands many years ago, so I think in 2008, which is actually quite a scary thought. I was born in Jamaica. My parents are Swiss and British, and basically I've been an expat kid my whole life. So I'm almost an expert at moving country by now. And my whole life I've gone from one country to the next and have had to adjust in each and every new country all over again. So I've been at Adams now for 13 years. My current position at this moment is an employee experience specialist here at Adams Recruitment. In other words, what my job entails is taking care of internal recruitment here at Adams. I arrange onboarding, I give trainings, and try to organize fun, sporty, or educational events as well for not only our staff, but also candidates and our clients. So what I wanted to make clear today is today's webinar is actually the first part of a series of webinars that we're doing. And we're offering these webinars on a monthly basis. And it's really to show you the full cycle from moving to the Netherlands until finding a position over here. So we even have presentations coming up on employment law and leaving rights, really just to ensure that you get the full picture of what it's like moving to a new country and finding a job in a new country. So I hope these series of webinars will offer you as many information as possible. But moving back to today's subject, and today's subject is really moving to the Netherlands. So the first step of the cycle. So now on my side, I've called it a survival guide. As to be honest, for me, when I first moved here, it was like entering a jungle. And honestly, a guide like this would have been super handy for me when I first moved here. I mean, you're juggling so many things with a move like this. You're juggling house hunting, you're juggling opening bank accounts, looking for a new job, getting your BSN number by registering in the municipality, or also known here in the Netherlands as the gemeente. It's quite the experience. So today's presentation is basically with all this experience that we've all had on moving in the Netherlands. This presentation is a practical guide. So really practical tips to support you with this big move that you'll be making. What I also want to mention is there's also a written guide that goes with this presentation, and this written guide will be sent to everyone for joining, that has registered to this presentation today and that's joined us. Now, first and foremost, let's dive in. So the most important thing when you move to the Netherlands, first and foremost, is registering in this Netherlands. To work, you need this BSN number. And to be honest, the only way to get a BSN number, also known as a citizen service number, is to have an address over here. So it's super important to find an address over here and then register as soon as possible. Without the BSN number, you also can't register for healthcare and you can't set up a Dutch bank account. So again, first step is really getting that appointment set up. Now, the one thing I want to just warn you about is if you're moving to like the bigger cities, for example, Amsterdam, there can be quite a waiting list in regards to getting an appointment to get your BSN number. And this is something like really keep in mind when you're looking at moving here, because it can take months sometimes. One thing I want to point out is healthcare is also mandatory here. I'll discuss this a little bit further into this presentation, but it is something that we also have to think about, even if you have the best healthcare back home. So DigiD, what is DigiD? So DigiD, or DigiD in English, I should say, is digital identity. And this is a system that's used over here in the Netherlands to access like government services, public services, etc., all online. And it kind of acts like your digital identification. And it's used for example, here you see a few examples. So tax administration, also known as Belastingdienst, healthcare, municipality services like registering an address, permits, education if you want to study here later on, and social security, so UWV for benefits, such as, for example, unemployment benefits. The steps to get a DigiD are pretty simple. There's a website called www.digid.nl. And here what happens is once you register, they send you an activation code by post within 3 working days. And they have extra security options there as well, just to ensure that your personal data is safe and secure. Now, I mentioned healthcare. So healthcare in the Netherlands it's regulated by the government, but it's provided by private health insurance companies that are here. And every resident, like I mentioned, is legally required to have this Dutch health insurance. And you need to have it within 4 months of arriving in the country. That is super important. Fun fact, or not so fun fact, any payments here will be backdated to the day you registered. So, for example, if you don't register within, or you register on your 4th month, on your first paycheck, those 4 months of health insurance will come out of your paycheck. This is something I found out the hard way. And my first paycheck, I can promise you, looked very, very miserable. So keep that in mind. The basic health insurance package is called the basisverzekering. And this covers like general GP visits, hospital care, like general prescription medicine. And there's also additional coverages available for you for things like, for example, dental care, alternative medicine, physiotherapy, and other specialized treatments that you might need. It's very personalized, and you can choose exactly what matches your needs. There's certain websites that really help compare the health insurances. So like Zorgwijzer here that I've stated, and independent.nl. Or independer.nl, I should say. So these allow you to compare all the policies out there, and then you can select really the most suitable plan for your specific needs. The public transport system. So, I mean, the Netherlands is known for quite an efficient and I would say super well connected, to be honest, public transportation system. And it includes lots of different methods of transportation. So, you know, we have trams, we have trains, we have buses, and we have ferries. And all this transport system can be accessed by what we call this OV chip card that's there on your screen. So the OV chip card is a rechargeable smart card, and it works across every single mode of transport. So you can use it on the tram, you can use it on the train, you can use it on the bus. There's 2 types available. So you can either go for like a personal one with your photo and more details, or you can go for just an anonymous one. Cycling, I'm sure many of you, especially for the ones who have already moved here, I'm sure you've seen that cycling is major here in the Netherlands. It's a major mode of transportation in general for people going to work, people going to sports club, people going out. There's bikes absolutely everywhere. And I have to say, I was so surprised when I first moved here at these multi-storage, I was going to say car parks, but they're more like bike parks where there's bikes absolutely everywhere. So bikes is something that you will probably take when you're living, working, or moving to the Netherlands. The interesting thing is your OV chip card that you have. With your OV chip card, you can actually rent a bike. It's called the OV Fiets, and you can rent it. I think they're available in most major cities of the Netherlands as well. Employment in the Netherlands. So the Netherlands in general has a very strong economy compared to many European countries, many countries out there, I should say, in general, and it offers really diverse job opportunities. So you can think of sectors such as technology are very big here, finance, logistics, and there's also loads and loads of creative industries that are over in the Netherlands. What's also interesting, especially for you know, expats, are multinational companies over here. There's many multinational companies that have headquarters in the country. As you know, the Netherlands is a little bit of a tax haven for these companies. So there's lots and lots of jobs in various fields available here. I would say the most important job portals, if you're looking for a job, are definitely LinkedIn. So definitely a LinkedIn profile is super important if you're looking for a position over here in the Netherlands. Then there's also websites like Indeed.nl and Nationale Vacaturebank, which can also be very useful in finding a position. The other thing you can do, of course, is we are, of course, a recruitment agency. So you can also register with recruitment agencies such as Adams or Multilingual Recruitment or other recruitment agencies in the Netherlands to help you find a job. And also the one thing I also wanted to mention is what is really useful is networking. If you go to professional events, if you go to networking events with expat communities, meeting people, finding out what's going on in the workplace is really important as well, and can also help you find out, find a new position in the future. Now, one of the key advantages, I would say, for me in general, in working in the Netherlands, is that big emphasis on work-life balance. So I remember when I first moved here, I signed my first contract, super excited I'd found a job, and I went there to sign my contract. And I remember them talking through, I was with HR, they were talking through the contract with me, and then they mentioned to me that I would get holiday money. In my face, I couldn't believe it. Like a company that was actually paying for me to go on holiday. I was so excited. I wanted to sign up straight away. Now, seriously, I'd never heard of such a concept. But yes, Netherlands does offer this holiday money on top, which is super exciting. And also now I know why there's so many Dutch people that go on holiday all over the world. There's also other benefits. So in the Netherlands, it's common to find, for example, flexible working hours. There's a lot of part-time opportunities as well. And there's remote or hybrid work options here as well. So I think in general, this means that employees here are maybe more able to have this healthy balance between their professional and their personal lives, which personally I find really great. And I actually value that the Dutch culture values efficiency and productivity, but also, has a strong emphasis on personal well-being as well. Now, housing. So housing is interesting in the Netherlands because there are more people than housing in the Netherlands. And I would say this is one of the big challenges in moving over here. So in general, there are 4 different types of housing in the Netherlands. So there's a social housing, also known as sociale huur, and this is for lower income residents. There are long waiting lists here, but this is definitely if you're moving over, for example, with children, and they're going to turn 18, you can go on this waiting list from 18 years old and older. And I would highly recommend, if you do have kids, to put them on this list, because the waiting list, I think in Amsterdam, last time I checked, was like 13 or 15 years. Something around that level. So it's a long waiting list, but it is so useful when you first start out working, when you're looking for housing, because the max rent that they would give you in these social housings are 879 euros. So this is something I had no idea about when I moved here, and I found out from many people that have this. Then there's a private rental sector, also called the vrije sector. It's a higher rent here, but there's more availability. And the shared housing. So this is really common for students, for young professionals. And there's, of course, buying a home. So in the Netherlands, it's interesting to note that it is possible for expats to buy a home over here. But then again, you will have a mortgage, you need a stable income before going down that direction. Like I mentioned, we have this guide that we're sending you later after this presentation. And this guide also gives you lots of information and a list of sites that you can use in looking for housing. Now, the education system of the Netherlands. So on the screen, I've put a very simple overview of the Dutch education system. The guide that I'm liking to mention throughout this presentation, the guide also has an amazing video, actually, that gives you a much better idea of the full education system over here. I might clarify some parts, but very simply, so the Dutch school system works as such. So there's childcare options available for kids between around 0 to 12 years. This can be daycare. This can be childminders, for example. There's preschool options, and there's also after school options called buitenschoolsopvang or BSO. Then after this, there's the primary school. So the primary school is the basisschool. It's basically from 4 to 12 years old. And at the end of this primary school, there's a CITO test that the kids have to complete. And the CITO test actually determines where the child will go further in their secondary school. So in secondary school, it's mainly from 12 to 18 years. And we have the VMBO, we have the HAVO, and we have the VWO. And then higher education for 18-plussers is the HBO and VO. So what are the advantages of living in the Netherlands? So there are lots of advantages in living here. But the main advantages that I would say are, first of all, the high quality of life. So, I mean, the Netherlands has excellent healthcare. It's got amazing education. The infrastructure, the connections are good compared to many other countries out there. There's a really great multicultural environment. So it's amazing how many people you find from so many different countries that are living here. And I think that adds to its diversity, inclusivity, etc. So there is really, really a big, diverse international community over here. It's also super progressive. It's a very open-minded society. It's a very inclusive society. And you see that in like the liberal policies that they have. Like I mentioned here, the open-mindedness and then the strong focus on sustainability. So I would say these are the main advantages. There are, of course, challenges to moving to a new country. And I would say the main challenges for international workers over here are honestly probably the Dutch culture and the Dutch language. First of all, Dutch culture is different. It's very known for its directness. It's very known for its practicality. And depending on where you're from, this can be quite a shock to the system when you first come over here. So they are very direct. Dutch people will tell you exactly what they feel, what they believe in, and it's practical information, said as it is. This to me was quite a shock when I first moved here. I have to be honest with you. I came from the UK. I was working in the UK before, where everything is a little bit more, how do you say, friendly and unspoken. But here, yeah, it's very direct, which now I really appreciate it because now I know exactly what's going on. People will tell me exactly how they feel. So, when you ask someone how they're feeling, you'll get a true answer. And then the Dutch language, it's a difficult language. To be honest with you, most people in the Netherlands, especially in the main cities, they speak English. So it's not that you have to have Dutch when you're moving over here looking for a new job. There are many opportunities without the Dutch language, but it can help when you're moving over here to learn the Dutch language. It'll help you in the future if you want to stay here a longer period of time. It'll help with integration. It does help with career prospects. But saying this, I know a lot of people that have been here sort of 20 years plus that don't speak Dutch. So now those are the two, let's say, main challenges. But we have to also mention that, moving to a new country, it's scary. Let's be honest. It's different to what we're used to. We often talk about these challenges in general, but there's also a lot of mental, emotional challenges that can also come up when we do move from our home country. And the question is also, how do we cope from this? So at Adams here, we are almost all internationals. We've moved over, from our home countries. We've had to settle in here. So the chart I'm going to show you in a minute shows like our personal challenges that we gathered from talking to colleagues over here in the office and some tips in general that we've come up with to help with your experience, let's say, moving to a new country. So first of all, feeling out of place. So this is a common feeling when you move to a new country. I mean, it's new, right? You're feeling out of place. You're missing your home country. You're adjusting to a new culture. All these familiar things are not there anymore. The tip we'd say is, be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be forgiving with yourself. It's a big step. Embrace that. And connect with expats. There's lots of people out there. Seriously, there's so many expats out there that have made that same step. And can support you and know that feeling. So, connect, go out there, connect with expats, locals, etc. The language barrier, we've talked about this a little bit as well in the last slide, but it can be difficult communicating. Even if many people in the Netherlands do speak English, again, it does help to have a few Dutch phrases. So it's worth maybe learning basic Dutch phrases or also taking a course to build up your confidence, etc., if you're planning on staying here a long period of time. Now, housing is a challenge. I won't lie, housing is a challenge. It's competitive, it can be expensive, and it can be a stressful experience. So, start early, be on time, plan it. Use trusted platforms, again, mentioned in our guide. just be careful out there. There's scams as well. So please just, don't give any money before seeing a place. Make sure it's not a scam. Make sure it's really a trusted platform you're finding your house on. In general, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Understanding local systems again. This is difficult. There's a lot of bureaucracy, there's the taxes, administration, the healthcare. There's a lot of stuff that you need to look into when you move country. But there's lots of research tools. There's lots of tools, I would say, online. You can, do your research online, ask for help from locals, from other expats, from ChatGPT even, like use your resources wisely. And always, if you're not sure, ask. People are always happy to help. Building a social network is also another challenge that you can face when you come over here, because let's be honest, you're starting from scratch. It can be lonely. It can be difficult to make new friends when you move country. So how do you do that? So in general, get yourself out there. Honestly, join expat groups. If you have certain sports that you love, join sports clubs, join meetups. Just get out there to meet new people. There's so many expats groups as well out there. And I'll show you soon some of them. Missing home and culture. Yeah, I mean, it's normal to feel homesick. It's normal to miss your own culture where you're somewhere new. So you can, stay connected to home is another tip we came up with. So really stay connected to your culture, stay connected to home, but also embrace Dutch culture. Adapting to the weather now. Sorry, this is a big one, honestly, because let's be honest, the weather here is it's not amazing. I mean, the summers are nice. And yeah, the summers are nice, but the winters can be long. There's a lot of gray skies through many, many months of the year over here. And I have to be honest, for me, this was quite a tough one to adapt to the weather here. I missed, I'm partly from Switzerland, so I missed the mountains, I missed the skiing. I'm born in Jamaica and grew up in very warm countries. So on the other side, I missed those summer months, that warmth. But what I learned in the last few years is really to just embrace it, to be like, okay, in the summer, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to make the most of embracing the warm weather. And in the winter, I'm going to embrace indoor activities. So read more books, spend more time indoors, do some indoor, maybe sports, do all those things that I wanted to do for a long period of time that I find fun that can be also indoors. So here are some group expat communities that can be useful for you. So we have here meetup.com, which has lots of different meetups. Honestly, everything you can think of is probably on Meetup. There are Facebook groups as well, various different groups. There are expat-focused organizations as well. And if you're interested in languages, then there's specialized interest groups like Amsterdam Language Cafe, where you can exchange languages, and also, for example, Learn Dutch in Utrecht, which are also Dutch lessons in more social settings, so you also meet people. Now, I hope this presentation has been useful for you. Oh, sorry, I have one more. Ooh, I forgot this slide. So more useful resources for expats. So again, to make the transition smoother, these are 3 more that I forgot to mention. So Expatica. This really helps with housing, employment, and daily life. I Am Expat. They have news, they have job listings, events for expats. They have so much stuff on there. And government.nl, it's also the official government website. And here there's more information on resident permits, for example, taxes and legal requirements. And now that is it. So I hope this presentation has been useful. I hope it's given you some valuable tools you can use. I hope it's helped you with that decision to maybe move over here in the future. I will start my video, turn it back on. And if you guys have any questions, then feel free to use the chats. And I'll see if I can answer as many questions as possible. Also, if there's no questions, that's also absolutely fine. Hopefully this presentation was so informative that you got all the information you needed. Okay, so I see some of the questions that you've asked. So, wat kost kinderopvang? So how much is kinderopvang? Seriously, it really depends. It depends on which kinderopvang you put your children in. It depends what city you're living in. There's a lot of factors out there. I have to say it is pretty expensive. It's not cheap, but you do get, depending on your income, you do get money back from the government in regards to kinderopvang, which is childcare, by the way. So it really, it's hard for me just to give you a one-off cost. It really depends, again, on so many factors involved. But it's something definitely look into when you move over here, depending on if you know where you want to live, etc. There's also waiting lists for childcare, for daycare, I should say. So make sure also that you're aware of this. So don't expect them maybe to have availability on a very, very short term notice. Okay, next question. Where can I find more information about your upcoming webinars? So our upcoming webinars, we're always talking about the upcoming webinars on our LinkedIn, on Instagram we use as well, etc., and on our website. So you can always find information on the upcoming webinars over there, and we will advertise it for sure. So just follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram, and you'll know. We'll let you know. So what other sites can be used for finding a position over here? So in the guide that we'll send you after this webinar, we have other sites mentioned there, but the main ones as mentioned is really LinkedIn. I would say LinkedIn is one of the most useful sites because even most of the companies that advertise on job boards are also advertising on LinkedIn. So I would say LinkedIn is definitely a good one. We mentioned Indeed as well, which is also a very good one to use. And again, you can also use recruitment companies that also have jobs available, let's say, for expats. So the next question, how long does one have to wait for getting the BSN number in some smaller city? It should be faster. True. In some smaller cities, it's much faster. It really, really depends where you're living. The problem is with your BSN is you have to get your BSN number. So you have to register in the municipality that you're moving to. So depending on where you're moving to, there can be much shorter waiting lists. Also, depending on the time of the year you're moving to the Netherlands, that can be also much smaller waiting list. But that just really, really depends on so many factors. But yeah, Amsterdam is quite busy. But yeah, if you're moving slightly to a smaller place, then it'll be quicker. Okay, next question I have here. What are the most in-demand jobs in the Netherlands? To be honest, I think in general, if you have an IT background, then that's probably one of the most demanded jobs anywhere at this moment. So that's also something really great. But to be honest, every position is in demand. So there's a lot of financial positions out there. It really depends on your experience, but there's customer support positions out there. There are positions in logistics out there. There's a lot of creative positions out there as well. Lots of sales positions, etc. I think the most important thing when you're moving to the Netherlands and you're looking for a position is that you have fluent English. So that's first, the most important thing if you want to find a position in an international company over here is that your English is fluent. But job market, there are lots and lots of jobs. Okay, do I have to pay to work with a recruitment agency? No, so no. We do not charge any candidates looking for a job in the Netherlands to go through us. No recruitment agency in the Netherlands does that. If they're asking you, by the way, good to know. It's a good question, by the way, Davidos. If companies are asking you or recruitment agencies are asking you to make payment, then it's a scam. Okay, so please do not pay a recruitment agency to find you a position. We do it free of charge with all the goodwill in the world. Okay, let me just scroll down for our next question. So if you didn't get a place, can you register with a form and still live in an Airbnb? This is a question that I can't answer in such a black and white way, to be honest with you. There are ways, but there are a lot of, how do I say, things around this. So ideally, if you want, to be honest, if you want a BSN, you need a permanent address here and you need an address where you're able to register. You can go into an Airbnb and you can get what they call a temporary BSN number. That is possible, but that is just for a short-term project. So for example, if you've got a temp job for 2 months, you could get this temporary number that allows you to not yet have a permanent address, but that is a whole different conversation for another period of time. But Anushka, if you want more information on this, or you want to talk about it, my email is mentioned in the presentation. Send me a short email and I can give you a call. So send me an email with your details and I would be happy to speak to you about this. Okay. Let me have a look. So I have here, hello, are a B1 level in Dutch and a B2 level in German considered to be strong assets for finding a job at tax or transfer pricing? Honestly, it depends on the company. So Dutch is always good to have, definitely. There's a lot of demand for German speakers in general in the Netherlands. So depending on what company you find, if it's an international company that needs the German language, for example, then it would definitely be an asset. So I think it's just about finding the right job. But the Dutch language, of course, is good to have. The German language is also quite high in demand in the Netherlands in general. Okay. Let me have a look. So I'm just reading a long question. Okay, so I've got another question over here. Someone's living in Wales and planning to move over to the Netherlands for an environmental job. Everything requires Dutch. So it is difficult for me to answer you because it really depends on the experiences you have. It is a field, I'll be honest, it is a field where Dutch is very useful to have, and there'll be more jobs in that field that do require Dutch because you're working in the Netherlands. So it all depends. Environmental field is very, very large. So it really depends what sort of position you're looking for in the environmental field. But in general, if you're working for a local company that are dealing with environmental regulations, for example, or environmental jobs based in the Netherlands for the Netherlands, then Dutch will be very important in regards to this, because you'll be working with policymakers, etc., that all speak the Dutch language. But I mean, it's not impossible to find. So, for example, I don't know if we broaden the horizons to like sustainability, there could be something there where you don't need Dutch. But I think the best thing you can do is, again, if you just email me your CV later on and a short explanation of what you're looking for, then we can be in touch and see what there is out there. It's a difficult field though. I'm gonna be honest with you. We don't have, for example, if you look at our websites, we don't have many jobs that are operating in this field, unfortunately. So I also have a question in regards to age. So honestly, I would say to you, it doesn't really matter how old you are. It all depends on the experience you have. This is what I'd say to you. So it's difficult to answer this question just based on a number of age. It really depends. What is your work experience? What have you done in the past? And what are you looking for now? So for example, if you have a lot of work experience and you're applying to more junior positions, that is of course more difficult. But if you have a lot of work experience and you're applying to positions requiring a lot of work experience, then it's absolutely fine. So it really, to ask you about when the question comes asking about real opportunities, it's you know, without seeing your CV, it's very difficult to answer this. I have another question here from a prospective university student. Okay, let me just read it. Starting September 2025. Okay, so to answer your question, so if you are a prospective student starting in September and wanting to work prior to studying over here, I mean, it is possible with that temporary BSN number that I talked about a few minutes ago, but it also I don't know, of course, if you need to have a work permit for working in the Netherlands. I don't know your nationality. So if you can legally work in the Netherlands, so if you don't need a work permit for the Netherlands and you wanted to work here temporarily before starting university, it is possible. It is possible with a temporary BSN number if you find, for example, a temporary role. That is possible, yes. I have another question. Is it easy to find jobs, care work, caregivers jobs, and what agencies can be used? If you can give me more specific details about care work in general, I can answer this. If you email me on the email that's shown on the screen, just email me directly and just explain to me what kind of care work, or give me your phone number and I can call you and we can discuss this in more detail. Healthcare jobs. Last question. Oh, sorry. Okay, healthcare jobs in demand, and how does one apply, and what are the requirements? So yes, I mean, healthcare jobs are in high demand in the Netherlands in general. So I don't know your background, but for example, nurses, doctors, other medical professionals are needed. It is easier, let's say, if you do have the Dutch language, because you're working, of course, with Dutch people. But to be honest, there's more and more healthcare workers out there that don't have the Dutch language. So that could be also interesting. There's a lot of aspects towards this, and care is a massive, massive field. So what I would say to you, it really depends. First of all, where did you study? What country did you study? What are your qualifications? Are those credentials recognized in the Netherlands? There's lots of details out there. You need to be you need to enter the big register if you're going to be a medical professional over here in the Netherlands. So that's also something that yeah, we need to look at. And yeah, ideally your Dutch level needs to be, I mean, ideally, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be, again, care is a big, big word, very large field, but for like doctors, anything like this, your Dutch does need to be a certain level. So usually like B1, B2 level in order to find a job. If it's care workers, for example, working in an old people's home, for example, then the Dutch language doesn't necessarily need to be at that level, but you need to have some understanding of the Dutch language because you'll be, of course, working with Dutch people. Okay, on that note, I think that was all the questions that I received today. Oh, I have one last question. Okay, this is the last question that we'll answer. And then if there's any more questions that come in, again, we will send you the full guide after. So read the guide. If you have any questions after that, then you can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me and then you can ask me those questions privately. So, okay, last question. It's about a university degree. It's from Sweden and Poland. where do I have to send them to get validated, approved? So the Netherlands in general is open to, like I mentioned, the Netherlands is pretty multicultural. So the Netherlands in general, when finding a job here, they're pretty open to different university degrees from different countries. We're used to that. So you don't, as such, need to get them validated or approved. Saying this, I don't know what degree we're talking about. So again, if we're talking medical, then yes, we need to make sure they're recognized over here in the Netherlands. If we're not talking a specific degree, like a medical degree, but if we're talking about, let's say, business administration, marketing, something like this, then the Netherlands is, yeah, we're open to different university degrees from different countries. So in that aspect, you don't need to get them validated. You don't need to get them approved. But maybe again, for you, if it is anything specific to answer this question, I probably need more specific information about your university degrees. So send me a quick email. Happy to help. And I can answer you. Okay. All right. I would like to thank everyone today for joining me. I really hope this was useful for you. I hope you learned something today. I hope we managed to help you out in some way. And yeah, just keep an eye out for our guide that we'll send to your email address. So you have access also to practical information. And this guide can really be used in your own time, in your own space, when you need that information. Okay, I thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for your attendance and have a good day. En te end, I will say in Dutch, bedankt voor het luisteren en welkom in Nederland. Thank you, everyone.